if you get a laugh, it's not offensive. People laugh.
Another rule that you have is merely clever. And I'm hoping to clarify that. So you say you have to go beyond what is merely clever?
Yeah, well, one of the rules, and I wish I could recall which number rule it was, but it's called merely clever. And you see that we give examples of this in our MASTERCRASH course. And you see something that appears to be funny, but you don't laugh. So we always, Jim and Jerry and I and Pat Proft always had this mantra that it has to get a laugh. We'd preview the movies, and if we didn't hear a laugh, people may have been like smiling and liking it, but we cut it out. You know, it's got to get an audible laugh to stay in the movie. Otherwise, it's merely clever. And the corollary to that, we have an entire like 100 terms, which we call the glossary of terms. And one of them is bullfighting. And, you know, you can do an impressive thing like, olay, oh, look what I did, look at this. But it's not funny. So in so many comedies, you see, you know, something clever, but it doesn't get it. We want to deal in belly laughs. I mean, you gotta hear it.
Are there rules in comedy about being too offensive?
You know, I've been asked, are there rules in comedy about being too offensive? I can't recall any rule that we have. We just, if it's funny, if it gets a laugh, we know it's not offensive. So if, you know, Julie Haggerty's line got a kind of a gasp or, you know, we would have cut it out. So, but if you get a laugh, it's not offensive. People laugh. Like the whole, the black dudes speaking jive, and we subtitle it. You know, in the past 5 or 6 years, that's been, oh my God, that's offensive. You can't do that now. Well, you know, we show the movie now in, you know, to big audiences, and they still laugh. And at the time, there was some fear that it would offend part of the audience, but blacks and whites laughed equally because we made fun of both. You know, there's stupid white guy subtitles like golly, you know, for she. So it's, you know, and I think all audiences just loved that because it was just being real about that situation.
Right, and then also too having the Barbara Billingsley character sort of enter, and what she represented as this wholesome mom.
Right, and then we have, in addition to that, you know, we have Barbara Billingsley come in, who is the whitest lady on the planet, and she's trying to translate, and she can speak it. And these two guys, the two guys who played the dudes, coached her off set. You know, they spent time with her, teaching her phonetically how to do it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So in movies like Naked Gun, you say reboots often fall flat when they abandon these rules, the original formula. So without knowing the rules, is it impossible to do this stuff?
Yes, it's impossible to do this stuff without knowing the rules. And I know because I read the script to Naked Gun 4, and, you know, they kind of go past the rules. They're not working on the rules. And so, you know, whether audiences will still laugh, who knows? I mean, they laughed at Ted, so maybe Seth MacFarlane has the magic touch, and you know, he's been very successful with Family Guy and a couple of Ted movies, so he does very well. But I know I'll be horrified when I see the Naked Gun. You know, so but I'm not going to see it because, you know, people ask us why we never saw Airplane 2, because we had nothing to do with that. The studio just went and wanted to maximize their profits and, you know, do another Airplane movie. And Jim Abrams always answered, if your daughter became a prostitute, would you go watch her work? So, you know, it would be horrifying. I mean, I regret even seeing the trailer. I don't want to dump on it too much. I mean, but you can't unsee this stuff. It's like Two Girls, One Cup. You can't unsee it. And so I will not, and I'm sure Jerry and Pat will never even think of going to see Naked Gun 4.
Right. And then, of course, you say the 15th rule, there are no rules.
Yeah, the 15th rule is there are no rules. So, there's a certain discipline about you shouldn't break the frame, but we break the frame a bunch of times, and you get away with it. You can do it. You can always do something and try it. If it's funny, you can keep it in. Then you've broken the rule and it's fine. But the rules are just a guideline. So, and we use it to really in writing the script to save time. So when somebody pitches a joke, that breaks a rule, Jim or Jerry would say, no, you can't. That's rule 3, or that would be this, breaking the frame, unrelated background. That's merely clever. And if it is merely clever, we'll try to keep going and see if we can get a laugh from it.
Kind of like Dogma 95 for these indie art house directors. You have your rules.
I don't know what...
Dogma 95?
Dogma
okay.
95. I don't know. All I know is that I won't go see a Wes Anderson film because it's way above my head. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Can you teach someone to be funny? Are there people that are just not teachable? They just can't. They have no timing.
It's a good question. Can you teach somebody to be funny? I don't know if you can, but if they are funny and want to do spoof comedy in this Naked Gun airplane scary movie style, they'll need to know the rules, or I would strongly advise them to know the rules. But the 15th rule, maybe they can just bypass it. Maybe they're just funny. I don't know. Whatever they want to do. I'm just disappointed that we couldn't do our script, but we've repurposed our script. It's called Counterintelligence, spelled with 1 L and a J, and we're going to get that going. About after Airplane came out, the studio wanted to do a sequel, and so we came up with an idea we would do a sequel, but we don't want to do another Airplane movie. So our idea was Bob and Julie fly down the plane, he takes her home to meet his family, and it's The Godfather. He becomes Michael Corleone. So, and it wouldn't even be on an airplane, but it would be called Airplane 2, The Godfather, I guess. But Michael and Jeffrey loved the idea. To their credit, they were always good. But then they took it to Francis Coppola to get permission, and he said, no, I want to do Godfather 3. So, Jim and Jerry and I always thought everyone would have been better off had they let us do, Airplane 2, The Godfather. I don't want to dump on Francis, but because he's, Godfather 1 and 2, he's like the best director in world history because he did Godfather 1 and 2, never surpassed. Those are the 2 best movies ever.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.